Alright, so let's go through the practice worksheet I had asked you to work on. So this is worksheet 1. And we'll go through this. Problem number 1, it says 1 over 1 minus the cosine of x plus 1 over 1 plus the cosine of x. And that should equal 2 cosecant squared of x. Alright, so first thing let's do is let's get a common denominator. We need to multiply top and bottom here by cosine of x. And we get 1 plus the cosine of x plus 1 minus the cosine of x, all divided by 1 minus cosine times 1 plus the cosine. Well, top these would cancel, and that just turns into 2. And looking at what the answer should be, we have to get sine squared on the bottom, so we'll probably have to distribute out what we have. And what is 1 minus cosine squared? We've seen that a few times. 1 minus cosine squared is sine squared. And this is the same thing as saying 2 times 1 over sine squared, which is exactly what we wanted. That's 2 times cosecant squared of x. For problem number 2, we have the cotangent squared of x plus 1 times the sine squared of x minus 1, and that's equal to negative cotangent squared of x. So let's distribute and see what we get. This will be cotangent squared of x times the sine squared of x minus the cotangent squared of x plus sine squared of x minus 1. Alright, I'll convert to sines and cosines. And see what happens. These are going to cancel. And we get cosine squared of x. I'm going to put the fraction at the end here. Plus sine squared of x minus 1 minus cosine squared of x over sine squared of x. Well, hopefully bells are ringing off in your head. I mean, that's a Pythagorean identity. That's just 1. So 1 minus 1 cancels. And this is actually just negative cotangent squared of x. Do number 3. Number 3 was sine of x over tangent of x, and that's equal to cosine of x. Well, sine of x divided by sine over cosine. It's the same thing as sine of x times cosine over sine, which is cosine, so that's pretty easy. Number 4, we have sine of x over cosine of x plus cosine of x over sine of x, and that's equal to 1 over sine of x cosine of x. Alright, so let's get a common denominator. We need a sine over sine, and this one needs a cosine over cosine because the common denominator would be sine cosine. So if you multiply this out, you'll get sine squared of x plus cosine squared of x over sine x cosine x. And what is sine squared plus cosine squared? Hopefully everyone is saying 1. Same thing. As you get used to this, I hope you're seeing it's fun. I find it fun. I mean, basketball's fun, but this isn't that bad. Problem number 5, it says sine of x, tangent of x, and that's equal to 1 over cosine minus cosine. So even though we could start with the left, I mean, if we convert tangent to sine over cosine, we could do that way, or on the right side, we can get a common denominator. So on the answer sheet that I posted, I did the right side, so I'll show you what the left side would look like. We could write tangent as sine over cosine. So really this turns into sine squared over cosine. Well, if you look at the right, we have to get like a lot of different cosines. So if sine squared plus cosine squared is 1, what's just sine squared but 1 minus cosine squared? And actually, when we have fractions, we could do 1 divided by cosine minus cosine squared divided by cosine. And this just turns into 1 over cosine minus cosine. So that's how it would look if you started with the left side and made it look like the right. All right, so that does that for that worksheet. Hope you have a nice day.